Herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe von Crop FM. Der Titel der heutigen Sendung heißt Crop Circles, UFOs and the Circle Makers und ich interviewe Linda Howe, Andy Buckley und Pat Angove. Das heißt, ich habe sie schon interviewt, nämlich in Wiltshire, wo ich mich diesen Sommer eine Woche aufgehalten habe. Und wie immer gibt es den Cropcom, mit dem man sich live beteiligen kann. Heute nicht ganz so spannend, da natürlich die Interviews aufgezeichnet sind und ich jetzt keine Fragen nachträglich stellen kann, aber in den Pausen kann ich sie vielleicht beantworten, wenn ich das kann. Erreichbar ist der Chat über die Website von CropFM, cropfm.nur.at und dann auf Cropcom klicken. Newsletter von Crop FM gibt es alle 2 Wochen. Anmelden kann man sich auf der Startseite von Crop FM, cropfm.nur.at und dann in der News-Sektion gibt es zum Beispiel einen Link auf den Newsletter. Und mailen kann man uns auch sehr gerne. Ich bekomme immer mehr Mails von Hörern über Dinge, die ihnen widerfahren und natürlich auch News, die ich dann jetzt vorlesen werde, einige davon. Mails also an cropfm@mur.at beziehungsweise vom Link auf der Startseite weg. Es ist nicht alles Gold, was glänzt und es sind nicht alles UFOs, wenn sie ziellos am Himmel herumführen. Ziellos, ich meine. Es gab da dieses Video, das war zuerst auf Tube und dann auf Google Video. Ich habe es die Sterne über Madrid genannt, Sterne in Anführungszeichen. Am helllichten Tag sieht man da Objekte herumschweben und derjenige, der den Beitrag raufgestellt hat, sprach von UFOs. Ja, es sind fliegende Objekte, aber sind nicht unbekannt. Es waren tausende Ballons, die man in die Luft steigen ließ, um gegen die Opfer des Kriegs im Irak sowie gegen die Opfer den Opfern zu gedenken des Bombenanschlags auf das Zugunglück in Madrid. Es war also diesen Sommer eine Friedensaktion, eine Friedensdemonstration und ja, das Video auf Google kann man sich ja nochmal anschauen und ja, das sieht ja hübsch aus, ne? Ist Bush ein Idiot? Manche glauben sicher sehr berechtigte Frage. Und diese stellt der republikanische Ex-Kongressabgeordnete John Scarborough in seiner vielgesehenen Talkshow im TV-Sender NBC. Privat fragen auch Konservative und Republikaner, ob die geistigen Schwächen von Bush nicht das Ansehen Amerikas zu Hause und im Ausland beschädigen. Naja, also ich glaube, die Militäraktionen tun da ihr Übriges. So meint aber jedenfalls Scarborough. Und dann folgt natürlich ein Potpourri von Bushy-Men, den Bush-typischen Sprachpannen, von denen es ja einige gibt. Das Foto auf diesem Artikel ist auch recht lustig. extra charge for UFOs and aliens. So John Bigelow, ich glaube John heißt der Mann, der baut ein Hotel im Weltraum. It's ironic that Bigelow made his fortune with the budget suites of America hotel chain. At his hotels, guests often pay $79 a day for a 2-bedroom suite with a kitchen. Now he's thinking of charging people thousands of times that just to go around in circles in a room where you can't even open the window. Bigelow has had a fascination with space since he was a child. His grandparents told him about a close encounter they had with a UFO. Ever since then, he has wanted to become involved in space exploration. Das ist er jetzt. Und Bigelow, der Herr, der also dieses Weltraumhotel da baut, hat auch jetzt noch immer sehr interessante Kontakte oder Encounters mit Wesen und Sichtungen etc. Und natürlich ist er ein sehr begabter Geschäftsmann und bin gespannt, vielleicht fallen die Preise dann bald einmal und man kann sich so ein Wochenende im Orbit leisten. Ist wahrscheinlich wirklich nur für Enthusiasten spannend, vor allem zu dem Preis. Ja, zuletzt noch über Chemtrails, ein sehr interessanter Artikel. Chemtrails, GAO Report admits chaff. Also Müll. Müll oder man versucht also mittels Flugzeuge lassen also diesen sogenannten chaff ab. Das ist also irgendwelche Materialien, die das Radar stören sollen. Und last May a family in Iowa contacted the office of Senior Tom Harkin, DIA, to report the constant crisscrossing of chemtrails in the sky above the neighborhood. They received back from the senator's office, a general accounting office, report on military chaff and a material safety data sheet for aluminum coated fiberglass fibers being spread 7 days a week for several hours each day in the skies above their homes. Und die Leute haben also gesundheitliche Beschwerden gehabt und haben dieses Zeug, das dann irgendwie da runtergekommen ist, analysieren lassen und das ist wirklich ziemlich drüber, was die da drin gefunden haben. Da ist die Frage, ob das wirklich vom Himmel fiel oder irgendwie anders da reinkam. Aber among the substances found to be in the samples were several that should simply not be there. 6 bacteria, including anthrax and pneumonia, 9 chemicals, including acetylcholine chloride, 26 heavy metals including arsenic, gold, lead, mercury, silver, uranium and zinc, 4 molds and fung, 7 viruses, 2 cancers, 2 vaccines und 2 sedatives, also Impfungen, Beruhigungsmittel, Viren und Krebszellen anscheinend. Sehr seltsam, also auch wenn das einfach so für im Haus rumschwirrt, kommt es mir seltsam vor, aber wie gesagt, also man müsste halt wirklich einmal so einen Chemtrail selbst analysieren, um das zu sagen, was da wirklich ausgebracht wird, und ist auch die Frage, ob das überall dieselben Materialien sind. Ja, solange sich niemand wirklich ernsthaft dieser Sache annimmt und auch ein bisschen Geld in die Hand nimmt, werden wir es nicht erfahren. Wiltshire 2006 war definitiv anders als die Seasons davor. 2004 war die Welt noch in Ordnung, als ich das letzte Mal dort war, und es gab also sehr viele Formationen in Wiltshire und Avebury, dieser ganzen Gegend dort. Heuer waren es deutlich weniger, vor allem über ganz England verstreut, in Kent bis hinauf nach Schottland sogar, also im Norden der Insel, und die Stimmung war deutlich anders, also jetzt abgesehen vom Silent Circle Café. Ich habe übrigens eine Seite mit Fotos online gestellt, die ich dort gemacht habe. Einige davon haben auch mit den Interviews zu tun, die ich heute spielen werde, zum Beispiel eine Skizze des UFOs, das von Andy Buckley gesehen wurde, beziehungsweise von anderen sehr nah gesehen wurde, von ihm und noch seinem Begleiter von einer gewissen Entfernung aus. Und der Fokus war irgendwie auch auf diesen Sichtungen und er war vor allem auch auf seltsame Aktionen des Militärs dort. Ich habe online auf der Seite, auf der man auch die Bilder sieht, es ist also verlinkt vom Ankünder und später halt von der Past-Show-Sektion aus, ich glaube, der Link heißt zusätzliches Ton- und Bildmaterial zur Sendung. Und der Fokus, wie gesagt, heuer war unter anderem auf die seltsamen Aktionen, die das Militär liefert, und ein Interview, ein relativ kurzes, das ich mit einem Augenzeugen gemacht habe, schildert recht gut, was da passiert. Also Polizeihubschrauber, die plötzlich am Eastfield bei diesem Aussichtsplateau landen und die Leute einfach mit Scheinwerfern anleuchten, mitten in der Landschaft, wo also Leute campen und so weiter. Und dann wieder abziehen. Und Andy Buckley hat mir zum Beispiel ein Video gezeigt, das er am Vortag, glaube ich, aufgenommen hat. Und ich hätte es nie geglaubt, aber da ist ein Apache-Hubschrauber und der fliegt zuerst dort in der Gegend herum und plötzlich dreht er auf ihn und fliegt kerzengerade auf ihn zu und kommt bis auf ungefähr, also auf dem Video würde ich sagen, das ich selbst gesehen habe, 10 Meter an ihn heran, 2-3 Meter vom Boden, mit der Kamera auf ihn gerichtet. Absolut seltsam. Und im dritten Interview, das ich heute spielen werde, mit Pat Angove, da kommen wir dann aber schon wieder zurück auf die Kornkreise selbst und was die denn bedeuten können und wer sie denn macht. Also die zumindest, die nicht von irgendwelchen Studenten oder Betrunkenen oder Rehböcken gemacht werden. Und was heuer auch relativ klar geworden ist, nicht zuletzt deshalb, weil dieses Interesse des Militärs da ist an diesen Kaltplasma-Phänomenen, die dort sehr oft beobachtet werden, also Lichtkugeln, die durch die Gegend fliegen und anscheinend mit diesem Phänomen sehr eng verknüpft sind, mit dem Phänomen der Kornkreise, nämlich das Interesse der Militärs oder des Militärs in UK zeigt schon auch, also dass da irgendwas faul ist an der Sache oder dass da doch viel mehr dran ist, als man in den Publikumsmedien besprechen möchte. Also nur wenn man selbst in einer Formation war und mit den Leuten dort spricht etc., dann braucht man da eigentlich keine Militärhubschrauber und es ist einem auch klar, dass das sehr spannend ist, was dort passiert und wahrscheinlich sehr wichtig ist auf irgendeine Weise. Schwer zu sagen. Jedenfalls sehr hübsch sind sie. Und es ist toll, in ihnen herumzuliegen und auf dieser Bilderseite das letzte Foto, da kann man mich bei meiner Lieblingsbeschäftigung sehen, nämlich in Kornkreisen herumliegen. Vor allem, wenn die Sonne scheint. Kann ich jedem nur empfehlen. Ist toll. Absolut toll. Ich würde sagen, legen wir los. Im Kornkreis-Café, Silent Circle Café, gibt es auch ein Foto. Das ist ein sehr nettes kleines Café, wo kann man wunderbar frühstücken, gehört Charles Mallett. Interview mit Charles Mallett ist übrigens auch online. Ich wird sich, glaube ich, nicht mehr ausgehen, dass ich das heute auch noch spiele. Und der Herr betreibt dort also das Silent Circle Café, das so der Treffpunkt der Szene ist, eigentlich ein ganz kleines Café. Davor das Klo, und als ich aus dem Klo kam, laufe ich mehr oder weniger der Linda Howe in die Arme. Und der hat es gar nicht erkannt. Und später dann natürlich, wie sie sich mit Charles Mallett unterhalten hat, ist mir gedämmert, oh, die Dame kenne ich. Ja, habe dann mit ihr ein bisschen geplaudert und habe ein recht interessantes Gespräch mit ihr gehabt und ich habe es zum großen Teil mitgeschnitten. Sie ist also ein paar Tage davor dort angekommen und hier geht es also eher darum, was eigentlich anders ist an dieser Saison und vor allem auch um die Sichtungen, diese sonderbaren Sichtungen, die da immer wieder gemacht wurden und werden.
I'm glad to be here this year because with all of the uncertainties in the Middle East, it's been, should anybody take off and fly and get in another country when we don't know what's going to happen. And to me, it's almost ironic that this whole question of what is going to happen to the world in terms of the environment and military and political situations has been sort of the theme that most people going to England since my first trip in 1992.
Yeah.
That many years ago, 13 years ago, we were all talking about, are the crop formations trying to warn us? Are there events coming? Life is not guaranteed. Well, here we are 13 years later. The world is perhaps in as dangerous a situation as it has ever been. And in Wiltshire, anyway, what struck me the most is the absence of people, the almost lack of crop formations, the fact that the spectacular patterns of 2006 have been in Kent, Oxfordshire, and in other counties. And it's as if something in Wiltshire, which I would say is the military presence, which is constant. Today we're talking on August 9th. And this morning, Andy Buckley and Gordon Stewart were out facing Tasmede Copse. And they see bright lights coming up out of the copse, which people have reported for 20 years at least. And immediately are these helicopters right on the appearance of the lights. This morning, I was over on a boat on the Avon-Kennet Canal, and we were waked up by heavy military traffic coming down the canal, and they continued to circle and go down and down. When they do that, it appears like, at least I've been told and Andy has been told, that the British military and the American military are operating with videotape in infrared, that you can tell the housings for the videotape cameras. They're looking for, in infrared, these plasmas. And one astronomer calls them plasmas of unknown origin, to chase them away. Well, what is it that the military, taking orders from governments, what is it that they understand these plasmas to be that are making patterns that they've taken a military stance against?
Yeah, and of course you wrote a book, both
Mysterious
Lights and Crop Circles, where you went into lengths on this subject. So this seems to develop further, and as in your book, the interest that the military takes seems to increase.
That's right.
Yeah, and also, I mean, we just talked to the owner of the Silent Circle Cafe, and Charles seems also to have seen those military helicopters being equipped with equipment that can detect them, and that can, yeah.
Exactly. And this is the infrared. And I think that the public should learn a little bit more about infrared, because I've done quite a bit of study and I have contacted companies in the United States that make equipment. This is a fascinating fact.
Yeah.
In the United States, the two companies that I found that you could buy equipment in the three ranges, there are three completely different frequency ranges in infrared. There's a low, a medium, and a high. And in the United States, there are only two companies, at least in terms of the public, that are making this equipment. And I had a discussion with one of the men about those high and middle frequencies, and you can't touch any kind of photographic equipment for less than $160,000 on up. That is prohibitive. $160,000 would be 80,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Well, now you're into the level that only defense departments can pay for that, or large corporations. And this man said, we've been providing equipment under contract for the Defense Department for a long time. And this was a quote. He said, it's very clear they want to rule infrared. Mm-hmm. They don't want the civilian population looking at the world around them in these various ranges of infrared. the only infrared that is accessible to the public, and those are still $14,000 up cameras, so it isn't available to everybody at all. That would be 7,000 pounds for a camera, is only, absolutely only, the low frequency. So you could have millions of things going on in these other frequencies, and if you don't have that ability to penetrate at that level, you're not going to see anything either. So that means that defense departments and large corporations probably doing work for defense departments, Britain, the US, and other countries, they are the only entities that are being able to look the whole spectrum of infrared. And those housings on these helicopters, they're hugely expensive, but they can videotape in infrared. And the fact that people from inside of these governments say, yes, we are monitoring and looking for, and they call them plasmas, and we want to chase them away, but they will not explain why.
This is really strange. When did you arrive here in Wiltshire?
I got here on the night of July 29th, and I went directly from Heathrow to Wayland Smithy over near Uffington, hoping that I would get there before the farmer had harvested. And it was sunny and gorgeous. It reminded me of the feeling once back in the early 90s when we would all come and everything was so magical and so innocent, and the wonder of getting on a tram line and you don't know what it's going to be like when you get to the formation. I knew what it looked like from the air, and I knew that that three-dimensional crystal was, well, one of a kind. In all these years of crop circles, there's never been anything like it. And on the ground, the thing that hit me was the complexity of every one, we'll call it crystal facets, those big, long rectangles. Every single corridor or facet was completely different. There was no part of that formation that was laid down like any other part. And at the end of the two facets that you could see in the aerials that had what appeared to be like facets at the end of those long columns or buildings or crystals, knowing that I was getting to that formation 2.5 weeks after it had emerged and how many people had been in there, to have the underlying structure, it was deep, multiple layers laying multiple 90 degrees, and those top layers, the way the crop had still was perfectly preserved, so it was a dark, light checkerboard pattern. It's really, that is one of the more impressive patterns that I've ever seen on the ground. And climbing around on the Uffington White Horse and looking at where Wayland Smithy, the old 5,500 or older mysterious burial chamber is, and knowing, having been there, that you go through a kind of metaphor. You're at a place that has honored the living in another one of these barrows with chambers that no one still understands why these people were placed there when 5,500 some years ago. And you walk through a dark forest. It's all shadowy. It's really close upon you. You cannot see anything. And then you come out and you are blasted by the gold of the sweet field. And it was like a metaphor journey that all of us have been on, both trying to get to crop formations, trying to understand what they mean, what is the intelligence behind them. Wayland Smithy this year, that was really an extraordinary formation. It was last year too. That was where the huge Mayan calendar came, followed by the clock, what they called the Mayan ticking clock at Wolfstone. And now in 2006, we've had the bird below the Uffington White Horse Hill, Wayland Smithy 1 mile, both of them north of the Ridgeway, and then on Sunday of what would have been July 6th, or occurred the night of the 5th, but it was reported in the morning of the 6th of August, is this extraordinary, what would you call it, the ring around all of the lozenges in a 6-pointed star. And on a map, they're all in a line, all on the north side of the ridgeway, not very far apart. And you think the unique, unparalleled crystal, the bird, if you want to call it the bird of Rihanna, and then what? A pattern that we're supposed to count the lozenges? Are we supposed to count the flattened parts that make the lozenges? What are we supposed to do with this strange six-pointed star that has all of these pieces in it with a ring, and it's 330 feet in diameter, and that is huge. It's bigger than a football field.
Yeah. I've been in it. It's also amazing when you go in there. The feeling in it, you get... You feel something in there.
Yes, I did. I was there last night because I've been in Cardiff working on another story on these red rain cells from Kerala, India.
Ah.
So I was there Sunday. I left not knowing that this formation was over there. And so Sunday, Monday, and yesterday, I was working in Cardiff on this other story and called, and my friend said, you've got to go see this. So fortunately, it was a beautiful sunny day and not rain. When I got there, and so I got to go in a little bit with the sun, and then like so much of this year, the clouds come, the rain comes, and even then, I was there for about 3 hours because I thought that the ground lay was so fascinating to follow, and that in that ring, I don't know how many times over the last 15 years have there been rings where there will be flat sections and the crop is flowing, and then all of a sudden it looks just like waves of water. And in this, I'm calling it Kingston Lyle, that outer ring, it pulsed like that. There would be the water waves,
yes.
And then it would be flat, and then the water waves, and then it would be flat. And when you see things like that, to me, it's more the signature of this idea of energies that are interacting with the crops. We don't know the source of the energy, but biophysicists are pretty clear about this interaction between plasmas and spinning plasmas. And if it is something using nature, using plasmas in nature, these kinds of inconsistencies, like energy that's sweeping, it's putting the ring down. But it's not putting the ring down perfectly flat, like Matthew Williams with a roller. It has all of these beautiful, exquisite eccentricities, which is sort of like nature itself.
Yeah. This year is not so famous for the formations, although there have been a lot of very impressive formations, but also UFO sightings. Andy Buckley witnessed one himself, and one I think this morning, as you just told me.
Right. Lights anyway. Lights this morning.
And also then a structured object, and I hope to get hold of him later, maybe today. Do you think that somehow the phenomenon has shifted, or what is happening here? Why is there really an increase in UFO activity, or is it just that we focus more on the UFO sightings as the crop formations dim down a bit in their frequency?
Well, the question in my mind, as I'm going to leave England this year and go back to the United States, is why so much aggressive military activity? In the past years, we've all seen military helicopters, and we've all seen military helicopters drop down in fields. This is the first year that I know of where there have been so many experiences where people up in Adams Grave in the car park had one or two military helicopters landed and shown beams at these people in a tent and scared them, which I think was the intent. And then that was the same night that the helicopter dropped down. It was one or two helicopters, and I think there was two in one instance and one in the other. But down in the East Field at the silage pit, there were a whole bunch of people on a night watch, and here comes this helicopter and landed and shone lights at them, beams of light with no explanation, and of course everybody left. Mm-hmm. Well, why that kind of aggression? It's been repeated over and over. Helicopters landing, helicopters coming down low over cars and people. The idea here is when you hear this, people are afraid. They are leaving locations. If that's the goal, then again, what is it that the military is trying to accomplish with these plasmas? Why are they so intent on making the plasmas go away and making people leave fields where they know that these plasmas are present?
Mm-hmm. And maybe this is also an answer to the question why there has been fewer crop circles this year.
Yeah, Wiltshire seems to be the focus of the military aggression, and Oxfordshire. Why is it that Wayland Smithy, the Uffington White Horse, Woolstone, why is it that those areas had some of the most outstanding patterns last year, for sure, and it started basically last year. There have been patterns up at the Uffington White Horse before, but not the elaborate calendar and clock and that kind of theme. And I know Jaime Masson from Mexico City. He had called me before I came to England, and he said, I'm really considering coming because we're expecting there will be another Mayan event. Well, and on August 8th or 9th, because of those dates are very critical to those calendars. Well, on August 5th is this strange lozenge within the rings that if there's a counting there that relates to the Mayan clock and the Mayan calendar from last year, I don't know. I mean, there'll be mathematical minds, I'm sure, that are working on it right now. Is there some relationship between the standing lozenges and the laid down wheat that makes the lozenges that would relate to the calendar last year and to the clock? Those are the questions that I hope somebody is working on, and that we'll start seeing people saying, well, this math and this math relate. Because right now, that ring around those lozenges is completely enigmatic.
Well, it's an exciting season after all.
You know, it's been an exciting season in the terms of the people who came back this year and what they've shared about their own experiences, and because I have seen the strange bright light over Adams Field. Andy Buckley, so many people have seen strange things in the sky. And if excitement is partly fueled by continuing mystery, the mystery is there have been all these dramatic sightings of unidentified aerial objects, but never has there been a pattern that has appeared the next morning under any of these sightings this year.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe there's a connection with the military, who knows?
And next year, will the world be at peace, or will it be at an even worse escalation of the war that we're experiencing? And would the crop formations, which are tapering out, will they end? Yeah. And if they end, what does that mean?
What does that mean? Ob sie enden, ja, dazu gibt es auch später dann im dritten Interview, das wir spielen, recht interessante Kommentare von Pat Angove. Im Chat wird munter geplaudert, ein paar interessante Fragen, was ich da gelesen habe, also militärische Aktionen etc. und ob das nicht einfach Experimente des Militärs sind, glaube ich nicht, obwohl ich sehr interessante Stories gehört habe über Hubschrauber, die diese Lichtkugeln verfolgen und dann tatsächlich dabei sind, wenn so ein Kornkreis entsteht. Da habe ich wirklich ein paar sehr spannende Sachen gehört. Leider habe ich die nicht auf Tape und möchte jetzt auch nicht weitergeben, von wem ich die gehört habe. Also das Militär ist sehr interessiert, aber mir kommt es doch eher vor, als dass das Militär versucht herauszufinden, was passiert und nicht wirklich selbst beteiligt ist an dem Ganzen. Arion schreibt da, meine Frage zu diesem Thema ist diese: Warum tauchen Kornkreise nicht auch bei mir in der Umgebung in Kornfeldern auf? Werden Kornkreise nur an bestimmten Kraftorten gemacht oder spielen die Wesen, die sie machen, eine Mene Mu? Würde zumindest erklären, warum man sie nicht überall sieht und man etwas fühlt, wenn man in einem ist. Ja, heuer gibt es in Österreich, glaube ich, keinen, in Italien aber dafür 20 oder 19. Und auch diese Frage wird im dritten Interview beantwortet, warum die nicht einfach überall auftauchen. Oder beantwortet, ich meine, Pat hat da einige interessante Anregungen bekommen. Der Kornkreis, von dem wir übrigens im vorigen Interview gesprochen haben, oder Linda gesprochen hat, oder einer der, von denen sie gesprochen hat, ist übrigens, also Affington Formation nennt sie den, glaube ich, der ist der bei Blowing Stone Hill, heißt der, glaube ich. Und ich habe da gibt es einen Link in der News-Sektion. Und das 4. Bild von unten auf meiner Bilderseite zeigt dann auch von innen, vor allem diesen Kreis drumherum, und das kommt auf dem Bild leider nicht so schön heraus, aber wenn man auf manche der Bilder klickt, sieht man eine Vergrößerung, dann sieht man es besser. Nur die Art, wie das Korn dort gelegen ist, war fantastisch. Also vor allem, als wir das erste Mal dort waren und kaum jemand dort das noch niedergetreten hat, das hat also ganz toll, so wellenartig ausgesehen. War sehr schön. Gibt dann noch ein Foto, wo man sieht, wie also die Halme in den Kornkreisen doch gebogen sind, nicht gebrochen, manche mehr, manche weniger, und die liegen auch nicht völlig flach da. Also das sind 90 Grad, das habe ich auch schon gesehen, also wirklich 90 Grad, aber nicht wächst weiter. Also diese Pflanzen sterben auch nicht ab, können sogar geerntet werden. Auch auf meiner Bilderseite recht interessant und zeigt auch irgendwie, wie sehr sich die Stimmung verändert hat. Das von unten gesehen 5. Bild, da sieht man einen Kornkreis, der abgemäht wurde von den Bauern, und zwar gleich nachdem er entstanden ist. Natürlich das Korn unreif, und weil er einfach nicht wollte, dass dann da Leute reingehen. Und so ein wunderschönes Ding eigentlich. Das waren also diese Kreise, diese ineinander gehen. Crop Circle Connector ist eigentlich von der Kornkreis-Seite von Crop FM auch aus verlinkt, sieht man alle noch von diesem Jahr, und würde ich mir auf jeden Fall ansehen. Und ja, also das war dieser Blowing Stone Hill Circle, der eben in der News-Sektion verlinkt ist, von dem auch Linda gesprochen hat. Und natürlich ging es da auch um Sichtungen, ihre eigenen, also außer mir sind alle immer irgendwelche Phänomene am Himmel. Ja, manchmal sehe ich Dinge, aber nie so tolle wie zum Beispiel im Linda. Oder im Andy Buckley, von dem ja auch jetzt im vergangenen Interview kurz die Rede war. Und Andy hat unzählige Aufnahmen von Lichtkugelphänomenen, also diese Kaltplasma-Phänomene, wie immer man das nennen möchte, die mit diesem Phänomen der Kornkreise offenbar untrennbar verbunden sind. Und laut Linda Howe hat er die größte Sammlung an Videos in dieser Art überhaupt, also Helikopter, die ihnen hinterherjagen etc. Und ich habe ja selbst einmal gesehen, und er hat mir versprochen, er schickt mir einmal eine DVD. Vielleicht tut er das wirklich, und vielleicht kann ich dann ein paar Aufnahmen online stellen. Das UFO, die Sichtung von Andy Buckley und vor allem anderen, mit denen er dann gesprochen hat, nach denen ist, glaube ich, auch die Skizze entstanden. Also man sieht auf der Bilderseite eine Skizze eines UFOs, was auch immer es war. Das ist, glaube ich, relativ am Anfang der Seite unter dem Bild vom Silent Circle Café. Er hat also da eine Skizze gemacht. Am 30. Juli hat er diese Sichtung gehabt. Und ein sehr spannender Mann. Er ist seit 20 Jahren in den Feldern unterwegs. Er ist auch ein sehr eigenwilliger Mann. Also ist dann oft nicht ganz einfach, mit ihm ein Interview zu bekommen. Wenn er keine Lust hat, hat er einfach keine Lust. Und er wird in diesem Interview jetzt vor allem auch über seine Sichtungen sprechen, über seine Gedanken, wie die Zusammenhänge sind, und auch ein paar sehr interessante Fälle von Einschüchterungsversuchen des Militärs und warum, ne? Wenn also da nur irgendwelche Betrunkenen, ich glaube also nicht, dass das Militär jetzt auszieht, um den Bauern zu helfen, ihre Kornfelder zu schützen, das glaube ich nicht. Und vor allem, wenn man die Ausführungen von Andy Buckley jetzt dann hört, dann wird einem sehr schnell klar, dass es sich um ganz was anderes geht. Aber so ist sich jeder seine eigene Meinung bilden. Und hier ist ja das Interview mit Andy, das ich auch so am 12. August diesen Jahres in Wiltshire auch vor dem Silent Circle Café aufgenommen habe. We caught up with Andy Buckley.
Am I talking now?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And again, in front of the Silent Circle Café, which is the hotspot here. Well, glad we finally get to talk a bit. And, well, this year the emphasis seems to be, it seems it's more on the UFO phenomena and on strange military actions than on the crop circle phenomena itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've sort of noticed that there seems to be more emphasis on the UFO, sightings. So there have been fewer crop formations in certainly in the Vale of Pusey area. There's a lot of theories about that, my own opinion is it's something to do with the energy, or perhaps even the weather. I don't know. I mean, I think there's a link between crop circles and water, and the water table's been extremely low in this area, so that might be why there are fewer crop formations. But the UFO thing, yeah, I mean, it seemed to spark off when we had the big UFO sighting, which was on, I think, was it July the 30th? It was a Sunday, July the 30th, where there was a sighting of a structured craft seen near Adam's grave. And following that, there seems to be being quite a lot of UFO activity, and also military activity as well. Helicopters appearing, and either they're seen, approaching these objects, or flying around, circling the area. Then there was an incident, I think it was the same week, it was a couple of days later, where a police helicopter landed very close to witnesses where people were camping, and
At Eastfield?
Yeah, it was near the Nap Hill car park, yeah, and there were some people camping up there, and I interviewed some of them, and they said that this helicopter landed in the field, and it was firing searchlight beams out at people, probably to intimidate and scare them.
And it always works.
Well, it doesn't. I mean, some people perhaps who are not used to that, or visiting the area, get quite scared by it. But I think people who live around here, or people who, like myself, who research it, get quite excited by it. Well, because it in a way, it's. I mean, from my point of view, I just like to gather evidence, and I think the more of this kind of activity takes place, the more visual evidence that you get, really, because it proves that the military are involved in this phenomenon. And that's I think that's quite important to get photographic evidence, because they'll always deny it. They'll always say, "Oh, we're not involved in this," that sort of thing. Well, if that was the case, then why do they do this? Why do they sort of approach frightened witnesses and come down and the scene, sort of where there's been UFO activity, crop circle activity?
So you also witnessed this incident where a structured craft came quite low over people's head, and photographs were taken, I take it, and
yeah, that was amazing. I mean, I've seen a lot of UFO activity around here, but to see structured objects is quite rare. And on that particular occasion, we didn't actually see the structured object, because we'd just arrived. We'd been to a conference in Devizes, and we got to the Eastfield, and two of our friends had been there since 11 o'clock, and they'd been watching these objects. So when we arrived, they pointed them out, and there were two. We saw two objects. There was what looked like a red, glowing spherical object, and also a white object. And the white object was actually the structured object. And these two objects were sort of over towards the Milk Hill White Horse near Adam's grave, and we were across the other side of the field, about a mile away. And they were simply manoeuvring in the sky. They were doing all kinds of very, it wasn't what I call. They were very, very graceful the way they moved, and they sort of would fly up into the sky, and then they'd come down near the ground, and they'd fly around each other, and perform all these amazing manoeuvres. And we watched this for probably about 10 minutes. And then our two friends, Tony and Dave, they'd already driven up closer to where these objects were, and they actually got a very close-up view of one of the objects, and they described it as being rather like a boomerang-shaped object. It had lights on it, and it was quite large, and it came down over their heads. So they actually confirmed it was structured. We didn't see that because of the distance. We just saw two lights. So we decided then to drive down to see if we could see what was going on, but we didn't really see a great deal. But when we were driving down the hill, we saw a car which had been parked in the field, and they were just about to leave. So we kind of had a word with them. There was a young couple, and they'd actually been up on the hill watching this at very close range. So it was really fortunate that we met these people, and we got to chat to them, and they said it was amazing. They said they'd watched these two objects, and one of them was a definitely structured object. They said it was a kind of boomerang shape with lights on, with a series of lights, blue, white, red, yellow, and they described it as like tubes underneath, fluorescent tubes, and it was, it came feet above the head, and it would hover in the sky, and then it would move off, and then rotate and fly around, and it was completely silent, no noise. And they'd managed to take some photographs. They took about 4 or 5 digital photographs on a digital camera of this object, which they very kindly did copies for us, and we managed to get them enlarged, and we got they did actually get one good photograph of the object where you could see all the lights on it, and we got the names and addresses, and they've kept in touch with us and since, and it was good there were so many witnesses, because it confirmed what we'd seen, and obviously they're just describing the same object.
Approximately what size was the object?
Yeah, we've since then the lady who the couple, she contacted me yesterday, and she said that she'd been they'd also taken photographs, still photographs, on the night, and also they came back the following night, and they'd only just got them developed, and apparently there were lots they'd seen this object again. It came out on the photograph, but it wasn't visible to the naked eye. They didn't see anything, but they also got photographs of other objects that were seen on subsequent days. And she said she's recalculated the shape of this, and it's now not a boomerang shape. That was just a trick of the eye. It's a far more sort of complex structure, rather diamond shaped, and she's estimated to be probably within sort of between 10, 15, 20, 30 feet across. Mm-hmm. And kind of difficult to describe, because the way it appeared to them, it looked like a boomerang shape, as it did to us, but that was just a line of sight vision, and the lights were positioned on different parts of the object. So when the object would tilt in a certain direction, you'd see the lights in a line, so it looked like they're all on one sort of structure, but in fact it was more complex. So we estimated that probably it was around about between 20 and 30 feet across.
And this happened on July the 30th, this incident?
Yeah, as I've got the I actually wrote all the details down, just to be absolutely sure, because yeah, it was 30th of July. It was Sunday the 30th of July, and it was between 23:05 and 23:35 hours. And I did a sort of, that was initial drawing of the object, but we later kind of realised it was, I did a more complex.
Yeah, I have a photograph of your sketch.
that
exactly.
that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see, this was we've got the boomerang shape, but in actual fact, the lights weren't on one structure. The lights were situated on other parts of the structure, so it appeared to be boomerang shaped, but it's probably more diamond shaped.
Yeah. Was there any other kind of interaction that took place between the observers and the craft?
Yeah, well, what was interesting is that the couple that had taken the photographs, the reason they'd come back to the area was because it was 13 years to the day where they'd had this amazing experience at Silbury Hill, where they'd seen lights, balls of light, and entities, beings, on the ground. And it was an amazing experience. I mean, it's been sort of written about several times. So they'd had experiences nearly every year since then. So they come back because it was 13 years to the day when they'd had that experience. So they were, obviously, and they feel that they, in some way, either attract the phenomenon or they influence the phenomenon or whatever. Not, things seem to happen when they.
Yeah. Do they have any idea why this is?
Well, we're not sure really, because a lot of us have had similar experiences. Where I feel the same. My own experience that there is an interaction between this phenomenon, and it seems to respond to intention. I've had a lot of experiences where lights have appeared, and I've managed to almost, I know it sounds rather strange, but to almost communicate with these lights in that they will respond to your sort of, you can kind of almost, it's very difficult to describe, but there's been instances where objects have responded to, you give them directions or move left or move right or go brighter, or they will, and they'll come closer and they'll go away. And I wouldn't know how that kind of thing works, but...
Yeah. And so this incident happened where now exactly?
This incident happened precisely just to the left of Adam's grave, which is on Walker's Hill, which is at Alton Barnes in Wiltshire, and it's between Adam's grave and the Milk Hill White Horse, and just in that general area.
But so unlike the light phenomena and plasma balls of light that are observed very often, this was really a structured craft that more seems to be like a spaceship, if you will.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. My view is that it was definitely because we had several witnesses. You see, the couple who saw it, and then my friends who saw it, and we actually saw the lights. So there were several witnesses who described it as being structured, and there's no doubt it was intelligently controlled, because there's no way that it could have flown in the way it did, very close to the ground, and then it was interacting with this other object, unless it something or somebody was operating it. Because and Sonia, the lady who witnessed it, since then she's done a lot of investigations with the MOD and the Civil Aviation Authority. She's contacted hang gliding clubs, model aircraft clubs, just to rule out explanations, and none of them have been able to explain it. And besides, it was flying well out of range, I think, of any. One of my friends, Dave, who witnessed it, he flies lots of model aircraft and helicopters, and he said it would have been extremely dangerous to fly something like that at night, and also it would have flown out of range of any radio transmitter, and whatever.
Yeah.
So, and also the fact it was silent and it was hovering as well, which, if it had been any kind of remotely piloted vehicle, or you would have heard a sound or a noise. So whatever it was certainly unexplained.
Yeah. But in the last couple of days, you personally also had some other sightings of balls of light.
Yeah, a couple of days ago I was with my friend Gordon Stewart, and we were standing below Knapp Hill, which is only, about a quarter of a mile away from where the other sighting took place, and we were just looking across towards Woodborough Hill, and Gordon saw these flashes in the sky, sort of quite bright flashes, and coincidentally an Apache helicopter was flying towards where he'd seen these flashes in the sky. So I started filming, and I was filming the helicopter, and as I was looking through the viewfinder, the helicopter, you could suddenly see a very bright flash in the sky, and then also below, and there appeared to be two objects which were again manoeuvring around in the sky just above Torsmead Copse, and the helicopter flew straight towards them, and he kind of hovered around for a while, and then these things continued to move. I could actually see one as like an oval shaped, it looked like a kind of ball shaped object, spherical object, with a shadow on it, and it appeared to move across the sky and then just disappear, and then appear again and disappear, and they'd fly in and out of clouds. And this went on for about half an hour, and we were sort of filming, and then again some more helicopters arrived.
So there seems to also be an interest on the side of the Department of Defense or the MOD in this phenomenon. And you just showed me a recording of an Apache helicopter that came down very close to where you were standing, obviously observing you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I've had this experience because I live down here and I go out, and film things, and I've had a lot of military helicopters that come very, very close. But I have to admit, on most occasions I'm not too intimidated, but yesterday I think it probably was closer than I've experienced before, and it was obviously deliberate, because this helicopter had been circling around in the sky for about 20 minutes, and we'd just been watching it, and then suddenly it dropped right down, came straight towards us where we were standing in the field, within yards. I mean, it was well below what I consider to be acceptable levels. I mean, it was certainly, what it did was illegal. I think it was a 500-foot ceiling where they stay above in public areas, and this was well below that, and it came straight towards us, within feet, and obviously observing us, probably filming us, and quite sort of intimidating.
So they watch the observers.
Yeah. But I mean, I've experienced that before. I mean, I've been out in the fields on my own, and I've seen lights, and I've seen suddenly helicopters appear, and some of them will come very close. They obviously see you filming, and they either want to check you out and get information, evidence, and also I suspect there's a bit of intimidation as well, because they think, well, we can frighten this guy, he'll come back again, or whatever.
Yeah. You did take legal action once, but they admitted that they were doing such maneuvers, but they wouldn't tell whatever it is.
No, well, it's the same really with, I mean, I've made inquiries with the MOD for years, 20 odd years, and you just get the standard response, that either they're not involved, or it's a coincidence, or whatever. I mean, they're not going to admit what they're doing.
Yeah.
So if they can't provide a reasonable explanation, they just either deny it, or they kind of ignore you. And on this occasion, two witnesses again were intimidated by it was an Apache helicopter. And, they were angry. They wanted an explanation. They wanted to know why they'd been singled out for no apparent reason. And I just filed a low flying complaint, and it was investigated officially. But again, we didn't get an apology. We didn't get an explanation. We were just kind of they just confirmed what had happened, which wasn't much use to us, because we already were aware of that, but information. So I don't think the military are going to give anything away. They just sort of do what they will, and We're very much at the mercy of what they do, really. All we can do is observe them, film them, and document, get evidence. Yeah. Which I think is very important because.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, so the whole thing stays a mystery, and as well as the interest the military takes is a mystery. And do you expect anything to change here in the coming years, or what do you think how this whole thing is going to develop? Because it's getting more and more bizarre by every year.
I agree. I think the authorities are worried because more and more people are going out and getting evidence, whether it's video evidence, photographic evidence, whatever. And I think they're getting worried because there'll come a point where they can't really deny it anymore,
I think we're well beyond this point.
I think we're very close to that point.
Yeah.
I was talking to Jaime Maussan, who's come over from Mexico with his team, and the attitude of their government, and I think other governments, perhaps the Norwegian government, Brazilian government, is totally different from our government. They're quite open. They virtually admit that these things are happening. In fact, I think the military even gave a press, statement.
Yeah, they've shown their evidence.
And they've shown their evidence. But see, Britain and America are extremely secret. And Britain's, the attitude in this country is very, very closed and secret towards these things. But I'm sure that it's good. Something will have to change because they can't go on denying all these witnesses. So I think things will change. Hopefully, anyway.
Let's hope to the better.
Well, I assume so. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Ja, ein Haufen Filme hat der Mann zusammengetragen und viele, viele spannende Dinge hat er zu erzählen. Andy Buckley, er lebt, glaube ich, dort oder ist zumindest immer den ganzen Sommer dort und fleißig am Sammeln und Dokumentieren und andere Staaten, also außer jetzt United Kingdom, EU und Vereinigte Staaten, sind da tatsächlich viel offener. Mexiko zum Beispiel. Und das nächste Mal ist hoffentlich, wenn alles klappt, ein Mann am Telefon zu Gast, den ich auch in Wheelchair getroffen habe, auch in einem Kornkreis, auch in dieser Affington Formation, die von der Newshouse verlinkt ist. Und Jaime Maussan ist ein sehr bekannter Ufologe, zumindest also Südamerika und auch Nordamerika kennt man ihn, macht unzählige Fernsehsendungen etc. Und Wingman schreibt da im Chat, schon eine Zeit her, aber ein bisschen runter scrollt. Ich glaube, ich weiß, welches Video er meint. Eine Lichtkugel, die über die Kornfelder von England flitzt. Und genau so, so sehen sie aus. Die Lichtkugeln, von denen wir einfach nicht wissen, was sie sind oder wer sie sind, aber in dem kommenden Beitrag gibt es da vielleicht einige Hinweise drauf. Also die Affington Formation, dieser wunderbare sechserkonale Stern, umgeben von einem Kreis, in dem wir in Militär besucht haben, ist ein sehr schönes Exemplar. Und ich habe dort also ein bisschen Zeit verbracht mit Pat auch unter anderem. Elke Watzlawiczek war auch mit. Und das war eigentlich, wenn man jetzt von einem Höhepunkt sprechen kann dieser Reise, das war wahrscheinlich einer der Höhepunkte da drinnen. Zum einen, weil ich zwar schon immer wieder was gespürt habe in Kornkreisen, aber mein Gott, man kann sich auch viel einreden. Aber in dem, da wollte ich eigentlich raus. Also und irgendwas war da anders. Und ich war also da drinnen mit Pat und sie hatte so ein völlig interessant, eigenartiges, sonderbares Erlebnis gehabt. Sie hat dann, glaubt sie zumindest, mit den Wesen gesprochen, die diesen Kornkreis gemacht haben. As they make the circles, they are like orbs of light, sagt sie da übrigens in dem kommenden Interview. Und was auch recht interessant ist diese alte Frage, die auch jetzt im Chat wieder ein bisschen aufgetaucht ist. Ich meine, vielleicht ist das einfach die Erde, die erzeugt, oder ist es Wesen oder Besucher aus dem Kosmos, oder sind wir das, die diese Dinge erzeugen, entweder mit Brettern oder keine Ahnung wie. Da gibt es auch eine recht interessante Antwort, zumindest ob es jetzt die Erde oder Besucher erzeugen. Es scheint eine Kooperation zu sein. Wenn das stimmt, was Pat da erfahren hat. Na gut, dann wollen wir es spielen. Ein sehr spannendes Interview, und das ist auch der Grund, warum im Titel der heutigen Sendung die Circle Makers vorgekommen sind.
Yesterday we've been in an amazing crop circle that was quite fresh. It was just done, I think, the night before. And well, tell me, what happened when you entered it?
Nothing. And this is very unusual, because normally I can pick up energies very fast, very quickly. And I had my dowsing rods with me, and although they were moving, I wasn't feeling anything, which was very, very strange for me. So I went to a place and just sat quietly and asked my guides, was I blocking the energy of the circle? And the dowsing rod said no. So I then asked, was the energy of the circle being blocked from me? And the answer was yes. And it didn't matter how many other questions I then asked, nothing was giving me any answers. So I just sat and waited.
Yeah. Strangely enough, I'm by far not as psychic as you are or anything, but I went in there and it really got me. There was a point in time where I thought, I think I have to get out of here again. Then decided to lie down, but yeah. So.
Well, I was expecting that too, because I do feel the energies of these circles, and because this one was so fresh, I was really looking forward to having a good feel. And it just wasn't happening. So in the end, I was just sitting there watching all the other people in the circle and what they were doing, and then I thought, well, maybe that's all I'm there for, is to support the others in the circle.
And at one point you asked me, you said to me, you think that's a conference, because Jaime Maussan was coming there, and loads of people, yeah?
Loads of very important people, or people that had travelled for hundreds of miles to just come to that one circle.
Thousands of miles.
Thousands of miles. Yeah, but there was one guy who came from Northampton, about 100 miles away, just because of that one new circle. And he would come to it and probably go back, like bird watchers do, So there was a lot of people there, and each was doing the circle and feeling the energy their own way. And then, while I'm just sitting there watching everybody else, I saw out of the corner of my eye some movement in the bushes to one side of the circle. And when I looked, I could see it was like white smoke. And this white smoke was moving in the bushes. And I immediately, because I've seen this phenomena before when I've been working with spirit, so I knew it was something that was there. And I immediately thought, well, should I go over there? And again I got the answer, yes. So I was a little bit nervous, because I don't normally see things, etheric things, with my physical eyes. So I always know it's important when I do. So I very slowly and cautiously, I think I saw you, didn't I, before I went. I thought I'd take a wander over there. Yeah. So I got over there. First of all, I saw, and I don't know how important this is, but I was looking for a place to sit down. And I saw a bunch of poppies, red poppies, and I thought, wouldn't it be lovely to sit here by these flowers? And I was told, and this wasn't with the dowsing rods, that I was just told, keep walking. So I walked a little further, and then there was a place where there were 2 lots of poppies, and I was told to sit down in the middle of them. So I did. And I just sat there, and I could feel the beings around me. I could feel that they were small, they were extraterrestrial, aliens. They were small, and they were very light coloured, like a very, very light beige or grey, or even sort of white, but not a bright white.
When you say extraterrestrial, well, people immediately start thinking of Mr. Spock. I mean, they were not physical beings.
No, they were not. No, they didn't suddenly materialise. I tell you, if they'd materialised, I would have been out of there. No, they planted a picture in my mind of what they would look like. And I asked them what they were doing there, and they said that they were the ones who had made the circle, the crop circle, that they hold the energy of this crop circle for sometimes for 3 days, sometimes for as long as a week, and then the energy is held in the circle for a little while, not all the time, but it's like they anchor it in. And they were just watching the people and watching the way they were behaving, and they were curious more than anything else. And I got a feeling that they liked to play a lot. So I asked them that if they materialized, how would I see them? And they said that I would see them as orbs of light, orbs of white light. And when they make the circles, they are like orbs of light as they make the circles. What they told me was that the energy, they work with the earth, and in certain places the earth creates the energy that they can then manipulate into the patterns. They cannot, because they are non-physical, they cannot take physical matter and manipulate it without the earth lending a hand, without the earth actually building up the energy to such an extent that these beings can then do things with physical matter, using, I guess, their mind or their energy. I don't know. I didn't ask that. And because I'm not a scientifically minded person, they had to keep their answers very simple, but I really got the feeling that there was a lot more information and a lot more, it could have been a lot more complicated, but they know the extent of what I'll remember. And they wanted me to remember. They wanted me to give out the message, and in fact they told me to tell Brother Tarek. So I don't know how he's a brother, but you know, how you're a brother. Yeah.
So you met those beings. Yeah. In your mind, obviously, there's no question that though this circle wasn't a hoax. It was. It is a genuine thing. And what purpose does it serve?
I certainly, because at first when I went into the circle and felt no energy, I thought it must be a hoax. But obviously I'm convinced it now is not a hoax. What they have said is that they want as many people as possible to come to the energy, to come into that energy. And the reason is because this energy in some way can expand our consciousness. Sometimes the symbols that they use are there to help us expand our consciousness. But they did say that sometimes the symbols aren't there to expand our consciousness. They're just there in a form of playing in order to keep us interested in the crop circles. So that it is like, I suppose they're looking at us like children. And you dress, for children, you dress work up in play. And so in a way, that's what these beings, in a way, are saying, let's make it as interesting as possible for them, because then they'll want to come. And then they'll want to be in that energy. And that energy is a form of just raising our consciousness in some unconsciously raising our consciousness, a form of triggering maybe some information we already have in our DNA or something like this. I'm not sure, but I got that impression that somehow it was something to do with our own evolution. And the other thing they told me was that the crop circle phenomena will not continue forever. That they think that within 5 or 6 years it will fizzle out, but something new will replace it. And they felt the energy when they said that felt very exciting, and it made me feel excited to know that they were excited about something new. So it's almost like in 5 or 6 years' time there'll be another form of consciousness awakening. Yeah.
One question I have, if those beings want people to go in there. Yesterday, after this crop circle, we went to another one, and we went up a hill, and you could see down the hill, you could see many crop fields. It would be wonderful if they put one there, everyone could see it, everyone could find it and go there. But in fact, it was put behind, there was White Horse, and was behind, put on top of the hill, where it was very difficult to find and very difficult to see. So why that? Why not put it up where everyone could see it?
They have to put it where the earth can create the energy. And the earth can create the energy when it's along energy, already established energy lines. Now obviously, when you get high energy places like here at Avebury, like the Uffington White Horse, that they are energy centres. So it's easier for the earth to create the energy when there is already an energy centre there. What we humans do is when we go to these places, if we go respecting those places, recognizing that they are sacred earth places, we actually add to that energy. We make that energy even more powerful. And I believe that's the same thing that happens in crop circles. That as more and more people come to that crop circle and treat it like it is a gift, then it adds to the energy. It doesn't take it away. And that's why I think I felt some of the older circles, I felt a greater energy. You know, although I felt the energy was more, because in the first circle I went to, my guides didn't understand the energy. They couldn't recognize the energy. And now I understand it, that it's like ET energy, earth energy, and human energy.
How does the human energy come in?
When many people have visited the crop circle, then so they are leaving their own imprint in it. Some of the symbols you look at and something in you goes, yes. And it's not that you recognize that symbol, but something in you recognizes it, and you just kind of like go, yes, and there's a feeling in your tummy. And some of them are so strong for people that they have to go, they come to a specific crop circle because of the symbol.
So yeah, so the symbol also amplifies maybe the meaning. And
yes, I think it does at times. Yes, the one that we had gone into, that new one, that to me, when I look at the picture of it, for me it's a symbol. For others, it doesn't affect me so much, but because we're all individuals and we've all got individual information stored in our body, then maybe some of these affect certain people and other symbols affect other people.
Yeah.
But they're they seem very interested, very curious about us and about what we're doing with it and how we are developing it, So it's not like they've got this tale to tell. It's not like they're kind of going, follow these symbols, it's going to get you out of a lot of trouble, you earth beings. It's almost about they've got some kind of contract with us to help us through this step in evolution.
And the circles on multiple levels, some of which we might understand now, some of which we still don't understand, help us doing that.
Yes.
They're kind of a tool.
Yes. Yeah.
It was your first experience with crop circles?
No, I've been to twice. I've been to other crop circles, and I've always felt the energy of them until this one. That was something else I forgot. They told me that they'd shut me off from the energy because otherwise I'd be too open and I could not have gone so close to them because the energy would have been too much for me. So that's why I was shut down for that one. But then I noticed the next crop circle we went to, I could feel it. So I'm very happy about that because I'd hate to think that I could no longer feel crop circles, because they are exciting.
Yes,
they're incredibly exciting, and what I love about them too is that you meet people who you automatically feel a connection to. So you meet all these sort of people from all over the world. And it's almost like everybody has the same purpose, which is to share this incredible experience.
Yeah.
And it's lovely, and it makes me think that's what the family of man is about, is people from all over the world just getting together and just sharing.
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful. Well, thank you. This was Pat Angove and Brother Tarek from Avebury, Wiltshire, 2006.
Ja, und irgendwas soll also diese Kornkreise ablösen in 5 bis 6 Jahren. Da bin ich wirklich gespannt. Michael Glickman konnte ich nicht treffen dieses Jahr, aber ich werde wahrscheinlich in kommender Zeit mal eine Sendung mit ihm machen. Zeit ist um. Ich hoffe, die Interviews haben Gefallen gefunden. Ich fand sie sehr spannend eigentlich. Und das nächste Mal Crop FM geht es um das UFO-Phänomen. Wir bleiben also irgendwie beim Thema, weil es ja doch immer wieder spannend ist und von verschiedensten Seiten aus betrachtet werden sollte. Die Perspektive, die wir das nächste Mal nehmen, ist die von Jaime Maussan, der zu der Zeit zwar gerade in den USA sein wird, aber er ist einverstanden damit, dass ich ihn interviewe am Telefon, was mich sehr freut. Ich hoffe, es klappt, das Interview, aber ich glaube schon. Also das nächste Mal am 29. September 2006, Crop FM mit Jaime Maussan live aus den USA. Bedanke mich fürs Zuhören, freue mich schon aufs nächste Mal und macht es gut. The old junkies, they all